so much for joining me. And the fact that you accepted my invite itself makes me feel extremely honored. I feel privileged. I just wanted
Oh,
to thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's all.
oh, that's okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I know you're such an avid fan of Rahman Sir, so I'm proud to be associated with him, and likewise proud to be associated with this interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, the thing is, I still remember this is going back like 8, 9 weeks ago, I think. Just before the lockdown or just when the lockdown started. I work in the software industry here in Australia, and then I do a lot of technical podcasts. And
Okay.
then I remember one of those days when I finished a podcast, I went in as a guest and then went to my living room. I was sitting on the couch and I was thinking, okay, there should be an ARR podcast. I started looking and there was none. And that's when the idea came up thinking, okay, you know what? I want to start one. So I wrote to Sir saying, Sir, I'm going to start something like this. And, he's very good with emojis and he put a smiley and then boom, that's it. That's where it all started. And then it's been a dream ride since then, to be honest, because the kind of support and encouragement that I've been getting from almost everyone who's either worked with him or associated with him in some shape or form are coming forward to help me out with this journey. And then what I initially thought was this podcast was going to be just about talking about his music, celebrating his music and stuff like that, and that's all. But
Mhm.
now what it has turned out to be is more like a talking autobiography of Sir.
Okay. That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, I just feel blessed. And then Sir himself was on the podcast a couple of days ago.
How
Uh,
was that?
it was amazing. I still remember. I just asked him, Sir, I would love you to come on the podcast, and he said, "Yep, done. I'll come in." And I've never even heard of him going to any podcast or no such thing. And then he said, "Yes, I'm coming." And then I said, "Sir, I only need 15 minutes of your time." He said, "Chanda, I'll give you 30 minutes." And
That's so.
and on the day of the podcast, it was 45 minutes and 5 seconds, and he was in no rush whatsoever.
You
So
know, the one thing that I feel is like the silver lining of this lockdown is that we're all finding more time to do things like this.
yeah,
And with Rahman Sir, also, we've seen that he's not the most active person on social media and stuff, right? But recently, like I saw he's been going live on Instagram now and then also. And these are things that, again, as a fan, because I'm a fan first, right?
of course.
Of course, I work with him, but like that's all secondary.
Yeah.
As a fan, I'm just really excited to see him when he comes live and to see him kind of adapting to the scenario.
Mm,
And
mm.
it's fun. I can relate.
So, talking of the lockdown, does this actually mean more creative space for you?
Yes and no. You know, the thing is, of course, we do have more open time during
Yeah,
the lockdown to kind of reprioritize all the items that we have on our to-do
yeah,
list.
yeah.
And there are things that we've always said, you know what, I really want to or should do this, but I don't have time. I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it.
Mm,
Now, since lockdown has started, we kind of see ourselves having more time and
mm,
kind of we can revisit those lists and be like, okay, I said I would do that when I have time. Now it's time to do it. And I realized that half of those items are things that I actually genuinely didn't have time for before. And the other half is stuff that I just kept putting off because I didn't want to do it. I'm realizing it now because now I do have the time and I'm still not doing a
yeah.
lot of those things, right? So I'm learning a lot, I think, about myself during lockdown. And of course, there is more creative space, but at the same time, because of the fact that we're not, a
Yeah.
lot of inspiration that we get subconsciously. We get when we're out and about, when we're traveling, when we're interacting. We might
Yeah.
have a conversation with someone, or we might observe something in nature, or
Yeah.
of somebody else's, demeanor, and it might inspire us. And all of those, that stimulus is not active right now.
Mm,
So
true.
everything is just phones, phones, phones. All I'm seeing is whatever I watch on social media or Netflix or whatever else. So it's a little tough because yes, we do have more time, but creative sometimes it's easier for us to get into a block. I think
Mm,
I should only speak for myself, to be honest, but I'm
yeah,
not sure.
yeah. And yeah, we all have that procrastinated list, right? In fact, to be honest with you, we guys had a 4 day long weekend. So today is actually a public holiday here, that the day is almost over. And then I had a long list of things and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get around doing this 4 items out of this 10 things. And trust me, I barely did only one. So, but that's how
Yeah.
it is.
So what's it like in Australia though? Is it on lockdown right now or not really?
So we have had lockdown in stages. So we were in stage three until a week ago, which simply meant that you're allowed to go out for essential stuff and like supermarkets and stuff. That's it. But now it's now relaxed as of yesterday or day before. So you're now allowed to go out, meet friends, up to 20 people, social gatherings, and the pubs are open now. And the cafes and restaurants are now open but limited to 20 people. So yeah, but it's never been a full lockdown at all. And then yep, sorry, you were saying something.
No, no, I'm just saying interesting. That means I guess that the rate of infection has been controlled. So it's not.
So the thing is, I think the curve has been flattened very well, actually, because the number of active cases is only under 1,000 for the entire Australia. And
Wow.
yeah, so I think everything started with closing down the borders. The moment they closed down, I think, yeah, that's where, I mean, yeah, most of the cases were from the cruise ships here in Australia. Yeah. And so it was 6,500 or something, I think. And but yeah, anyway, but touch wood, I really don't want to see a second wave of things now that the restrictions are open because people are going berserk and I can see the traffic like so crazy already here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Work, everything is back to normal. Like people who
So
have corporate jobs and stuff, they're back to
so
work.
so I work in IT. I work as a team leader here for one of the IT consulting firms. We have been working remotely from home. So this is my office slash ARR room, as no prizes for guessing. And so we've been working remotely for the last 8.5, 9 weeks or something. But the thing is, you can't return to work as yet. So the recommendation is if you can work from home, you work from home. If you really can't, then you go to work. But I think the new norm now going forward is going to be half at home or less than
Yeah,
half at the office.
during the lockdown, how much is achievable from our
Yeah,
homes? Like it's not necessary to go to work or to physically go
correct,
somewhere.
correct,
So
correct.
things will be-
Yeah, it simply meant more number of meetings for me and anyone who's working in IT, as you would imagine. And then, but for me, there's no commute time. My commute time is from my bedroom to my office room, which is less than 10 seconds. And so it's good. And at the same time, sometimes, we all have those moments where like you feel isolated and something weird. I do go through those moments as well, but yeah, but it's busy. Like I work, and then straight after that, this podcast journey is keeping me insanely busy. I've been getting guests almost every day, and sometimes two guests in a day. And then comes editing and then coordinating with the guys who are going to come in. So I think until the end of this month, I've got guests almost every day. I just had Gautam Menon, the director, half an hour ago, and he was
How-
asking me who's coming next. I said Jonita is coming. He said, "Oh wow, nice."
yeah, I think I've his film before. I've met him. He
Yeah,
directed Acham Yanvada Madamaida, right?
correct.
In that film, and I met him at the launch. So, and he
Wow.
sings, right? I've heard him sing with a friend of mine, Alicia Thomas. They've sung a song together and everything.
Yeah, he does actually, but he didn't sing in the podcast though. But I didn't get to ask him, but because he was sitting in his living room, chilled out, and then I didn't want to, piss him off by asking him to sing something. And well, Jonathan, you know what? I don't know. Going back, say this is 2020. In 2017, October or the Melbourne concert. I can't recollect whether it was in October or September. I think it was in October.
October as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
October 18th or something. I think it was the week before my birthday. However, um,
Yeah.
you rocked it. Yeah, I shared a picture of, I mean, I took a picture of you. I was right in the front row, no prizes for guessing
Um,
again. And then, interestingly enough, I pulled out my phone and you saw me holding the phone and you posed for me. So I took,
That's
And
funny.
you actually smiled, and I took a picture and I shared it to your manager. So
I
she'll
saw
famous.
it. I realized that that I was looking. I'm gonna look at it again actually. He sent it to me.
Yeah.
Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, I'm looking just above like the camera. Yeah.
Yep, yep, that's it. That's such a cool picture. I like it.
It's a nice picture. Yeah, and you can see
Yeah.
Rahman's background also. And his sunglasses on the
Oh, yeah, really? Oh, wow. Oh, nice. Awesome. And he posts too. I'll send that picture too. And anyway, I was going to say, you started off with Chinna Chinna Asai in that concert. You have no idea what that song did, especially the fact that you sang it. I was sitting right in the front, and here's an interesting story. You're allowed to laugh, right? And you started singing that. I was transported into, we all get transported into a different world altogether, especially with Sir's music. But especially with this track and you singing it, I was transported into another different world which I could never describe. And I know halfway through the track, I was in tears, and
Oh,
I don't know whatever happened to me. I was in tears, and at the end of the song, I realized that there was this another girl sitting right next to me, and she actually had her head all on my shoulders, and she was weeping.
and you did this?
And I have no idea. This is what your Chinna Chinna
Wow.
did. I thought I had to let you know this. In fact, I was talking about it to one of my friends the other day too, and he was like, "This is crazy. Have you told Jonita about it?" I said, "I'm going to tell her in the podcast when she comes."
That's crazy. Normally, we would even if we're getting emotional, we would notice that somebody else is like leaning on their shoulder and crying. But that's wow.
So that, especially that track, I don't know. You singing it had a lot of magic. I don't know because obviously it was absolutely pitch perfect, and then you got the dictions right. I don't know how do you even work on it. Like, how do you get the Tamil and Telugu and everything else you sing so right?
I don't always get it right, but I do work extra hard, especially when I'm performing it with Rahman Sir, right? Because
Yeah.
his audience, like you're such a good example of, the kind of people who comprise his art audience and how dedicated they are to like studying his music, not just, passive
Correct.
listening.
Yeah.
So like I would not be doing his music justice if I didn't go the extra mile and really
Mm,
focus on
mm,
pronouncing
mm.
correctly and trying to get all the notes right and sing it in a way that does justice to the original but also allows me to give a little bit of my interpretation as well. Like finding that balance is always something I think all of the singers on his concerts do. So
Right. But how do you manage to do that? Because you guys are on a hectic schedule. I do remember you had done the Sydney concert prior to coming to Melbourne. It was pretty much the day before the Melbourne one. You were in Sydney, I think, from memory, if I'm not wrong.
I, we had done, yeah, we did New Zealand, like we did Auckland, Melbourne, Sydney, in span of some nine
Yeah.
days or something.
Yeah.
I think there was like a week in between Auckland and Australia.
Correct. Correct.
Um,
Yeah.
and I remember right after, I think was Melbourne the second one you said? It was the last one. Right
Last.
after, I caught like a 4 or 5 a.m. flight and flew straight to London because my friend was getting married.
Wow.
And literally landed at 6 p.m. on the night of the reception. So I missed the Sangeet. I missed all the pre-wedding festivity. I missed the actual wedding as well. And I just made it in time for the reception for their first dance. And I sang for their first. I remember it was just such a hectic time. But yeah, I mean, this is our life, I guess, as musicians.
Yeah.
Especially when we're touring and doing back-to-back shows, it is tough. We do get less
Yeah.
sleep, but I think
Yeah.
our whole lives is like preparation for these
Yeah.
moments. We
Yeah.
don't realize, like me singing at all those concerts when I was 16, 17 years old, singing at all those weddings and
Mm.
whatever else I was performing at in Toronto.
Yeah.
All of that was building stamina and preparing me for what I'm doing now. And it's just
Yeah.
incredible because I feel those things you don't even realize when they're happening, right? Just
Mm.
you can only look back and be like, wow, like, it was meant. And I just feel really, really blessed that life has led me in this direction. So it's just
Yeah.
practice, yeah.
Wow. Talking on that note, how many hours of practice does that actually involve per day? or that just varies? Not really.
It does vary, of
Yeah.
course. When you're traveling and touring, the practice per day goes down to like embarrassing levels that I should not
Sure.
even. Like there'll be many days on tour that I just don't practice, and I think um, it's like those are rest days. Those are days we're just catching up on sleep, or
Nice.
I might be focusing on something else. Like, okay, instead of singing that day, I'm going to worry about where is my placement on stage, or like what kind of choreography can I bring to this song, or what kind of backing vocal should I do for someone else's song. So there's so many things that go into the performance, and I think it's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
The fact that I was introduced to Rahman Sir's team during NAIT, which was the heart, the film, the concert
Yeah.
film that went.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was actually the most grueling process compared to the Australia tour or any of the tours after that.
Yeah.
That first tour where I first kind of jumped into battle, that was, I think, the best preparation. And I think most of the songs that we did that day, we've been able to perform again.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the preparation, the hours and
Yeah.
we performed that tour on a very, very tight schedule. Like crazy travel and like sometimes like 4 or 5 concerts in 1 week. And it was just like, yeah, back to backs. It was very grueling, but it was like amazing preparation. And so I feel compared to that now, everything is a little easier. And songs like Chinna Asai, those songs were there on that original set list from NAI. So when we get to to do the same songs again, now we get to focus on the different aspects and like, what we can do to grow this part of the performance. And I think it's just a learning process that's just never ending. And it's also important to detach. So the days again, like you said, it's crazy the schedule, but the days that you have off, sometimes it's better to not practice. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so true.
Give yourself a break from the material so that when you come back to you're doing the same thing over and over and you want to keep it fresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to remember that the audience is not the same. The audience is seeing this for the first time.
True.
So you have to give them the best every time.
Wow.
I think it's just balancing that, having the days where you have to really practice, having days where you let it go as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's interesting that you said that. So I know some of the singers I've got this what do you call, they're more like a morning person, riyaaz and stuff like that. And now the reason why I mention about that is most of the recordings that you would have done with Sir would have been at a crazy time. In fact, the podcast with him was also like around 1:30 a.m. for me. And the first thing he asked me was, "Aren't you on your bed yet?" I said, "Sir, I would never go to bed while you're coming." So what is it like?
Time difference, I don't remember.
It's 4.5 hours from India. So we are ahead of India by 4.5 hours.
So it would have been like late evening.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So what was it like with the recording process and stuff with Sir? Because must have been in a crazy time, and were you comfortable singing at crazy times? Of course you have been, because all your songs have been amazing, outstanding, no doubt about it. But did that impact maybe for the first time ever when you started recording for him? Do you remember those memories?
I remember the rumor that he only recorded at night, which is not actually true. I do think it's just like a matter of chance that a lot of singers have ended up I don't know, because actually I've also done a lot of night sessions as well, where it starts in the day but then it goes into the night, or it's just very unpredictable, and I think that's part of the excitement, is the spontaneity of working with. It does have an effect. Like some people can sing better at night. Some people sing worse when they're tired. So I think he's very receptive to that. There's been times where he's asked me also, like, if you're too tired, because you realize, okay, it's 4 a.m. right now. You've already sung a song. If you're not too tired, then only we'll proceed and work on this other thing. And of course, me being me, and I think most people would feel like, no, I'm not too tired. Like, whatever you want to do, like, I'm up for it, because the adrenaline is just what keeps us going, right?
Yeah.
The adrenaline is like, it overpowers any sense of tiredness. And I think that's so cool, because that you really push yourself and you do things that you never knew you could do in moments where you feel like, actually, I'm kind of tired. And then sometimes being tired for me works in my favor because it lets me stop overthinking so
Mm,
much when I'm on
mm,
mic.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just a mix of different things. But he does. I have had a lot of sessions where it's like, okay, we might nap for some time and then come back. So yeah.
Right, okay. Awesome. And then, so, of course, you have traveled a lot with Sir, no doubt about it. And do you have a count of the number of concerts that you have done with him? Just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. I actually don't. I
Yeah.
don't even have a count of the number of concerts I've done. Period. Like people always ask me, like, "Oh, how many shows have you done with your band this year?" And I'm like, I could count. I guess I should.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't
right.
know how many, like a ballpark, maybe like 50.
Yeah, I'm sure it must have been even more than that.
I don't know, cause like NEIT was, I think, was it 10 concerts? I can't even
Yeah,
remember now.
yeah, yeah,
I've done 2 tours with him, so I mean 2 long tours with him, and then we've done the like the other tour and stuff like that
yeah.
too. But
Pretty sure
maybe
the one in the US is coming up next year when things get sorted
yeah.
out. Um, any memories of which one has been your most favorite concert on that note, or all of them have been your favorite? Is that a stupid thing to ask?
Um, yeah. No, it's not.
Thank you, Jonita.
But it's obviously a difficult question to answer.
Yeah,
I have, so I do. It's not that I have like one favorite, but I have moments that have stood out.
yeah.
One moment that stands out is when I got to perform with him in Toronto
Mm,
during was it NAIT? Yes. Okay, so there was the NAIT concert where we did two
mm,
back-to-back
mm,
concerts, and then there was also we did like an isolated Toronto concert where we did a Tamil concert and a Hindi concert. And I remember at the Hindi concert we were singing Agar Tum Saath Ho,
mm.
and he gave me a little shout out because the performance was happening like in a venue that was like 15 minutes away from my house. And
Oh,
he was like, "Aren't you guys proud? It's your own Brampton girl." He said something like that, Jonita Gandhi. And I was just like, it made it so real because you know that validation. It's like in front of thousands of people
yeah,
in my where I grew up. I went to school. My
yeah,
parents are here. My parents' friends are here. And then for him to give me a shout out like that, that was really surreal. And actually, the same song in Sydney, I'll never forget.
yeah.
Uh, for the first time, while a song was on that I was singing lead, I started crying. I got so
Wow,
emotional during Agar Tum Saath Ho in
yeah,
Sydney. I remember. And I had to keep it together. It's just there's this like really long flute interlude,
yeah, yeah. Correct,
like between verses,
correct.
and I just like lost myself in the music, and I started like getting emotional. But then,
Yeah,
I had to sing that right after. So I got it together. I sang it, whatever. Then when the song was over, Benny came on stage to sing "Kaise Mujhe Tum
correct.
Mile." And even that song makes me emotional. I mean, I was already in that mood, and me and Neeti were standing together
Yeah,
singing backing
yeah,
vocals. I remember, like, at that point, because now I'm not the center of attention, we were kind of far back on stage.
yeah.
When that song was over, I started crying, and Neeti was like, "Are you okay?" It was just building up, throughout, and I
Yeah,
was just waiting, like, when can I get off stage so I can actually just let it out, type thing.
yeah.
But I don't think anyone noticed other than Neeti. But yeah, I'll never forget that. It was really special.
Wow, amazing. Um, I don't know if you remember this. There was a song, Kahaan Hoon Main, right?
Yeah.
That, do you have any memories of that? The reason why I mention about that is it always does something to me whenever I hear it. And I have never been able to explain. Sometimes it brings tears, and I go into this. It's not, confused state is not the right word, but it's in a different zone. I just wanted to know if there are any memories of recording for that song and what was it like?
That song is like, I think, mm, one of my, if not my favorite song that I've sung for a film, and even for Sir, because it was the first film song that released that I sang for him. And I think that's kind of what put it on the map that, okay, Jonita Gandhi, who
Mm,
is this girl
mm,
who's singing now for films and for AR Rahman's music. And also that song was very defining for my my vocal style, because when we were working on that song, initially it was meant to be a background piece. I think just like a verse with some humming,
Right.
meant to be used just in the background score, not as an actual feature song on the album.
Yeah.
And it was just a melody at first where it's like, I was just like, we recorded just the melody. Then they put lyrics to it. I think Irshad Khan was there when we were kind of just playing around with the melody. And then it became 2 verses, and it became like a full-fledged song. And the way that I was part of that song from the very beginning, like the conception was in front of me, kind of, it was conceived in front of my eyes. It was kind of special because otherwise, we as singers for playback, we're not normally part of that process. We usually get called much later in that process, when it's all recomposed, when it's just ready to be sung. But I was kind of attached to the song from its very birth, and I think that's what made it very special. I was able to make it my own. It wasn't just okay, learn the melody and sing it. It was like, now sing it and now interpret it. So I was able to kind of like do my own thing also and try different things. And I remember thinking, okay, wait, if I do this, will it sound too Western? And he was like, no, that's okay. Like, it kind of helped me redefine the rules. It's like, you don't need to only sing in a Western way in one song or only in an Indian way in one song. In the song, I was kind of doing both things in alternate lines. And that like defines me as a person, right? Because I'm this Indian girl grown up in Canada. So I have very strong roots on both sides of right? So yeah, for me to kind of use both influences in that song, or both sides of my influence in that song, was really, really cool for me. And I'll never forget the day I actually dubbed. I was sick. I was throwing up. I think I had food poisoning, which I don't know even for a monster yet. But I've said it in many interviews. Maybe the story has come to him, but I was lightheaded. I would like leave the session to go to the bathroom and throw up and then come back. And I want them to know, because like this was my big break, and the song was so beautiful, and that lightheadedness maybe worked in my favor, because when you're throwing up, you feel like extra lightheaded.
Oh my God.
The song is really high, like, and airy. So it was definitely difficult, but it was memorable and it was beautiful. So I love that.
Me too. I absolutely love it. On that note, am I stretching the boundaries if I had to request you to please sing maybe at least one line?
Yeah, sure. Kahaan Hoon Main, Kahaan Hoon Main ab, Kahaan Hoon Main, Kahaan Hoon Main ab, aahe dar खुशी रास्ते कच्ची बातें सच्ची वास्ते कहीं पे इन सब में कहाँ
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jonita. It's so magical. Like for a moment, I felt like I was actually lost. I had gone somewhere.
That's literally what the song is about too, and the way they picturized it also. That film in general, I thought was beautiful. Amazing job. Yeah.
Not an easy song at all. At least from my perspective, I mean, it doesn't look easy at all, even one bit for me. I will take years or decades to even sing one line.
But I don't know. I guess that was the fun of kind of making it your own. Like what comes naturally to one person doesn't come naturally to another. So it's really beautiful to be able to kind of take advantage of that, of our differences in songs, and that's what it's about. It's all about. So.
And also another song that plays on my playlist. Okay, actually, before I ask that, right? Do you listen to your own songs, the songs that you have sung? The reason why I asked that, 9 out of 10 people have said, no, we don't, because we go back into, the picky stuff. Okay, I could have done this better, this part better. So they don't go back and listen to it at all. How about you?
There are a few songs that I will never listen to, probably. But there are many songs that I do listen to. I'm gonna be shameless and admit there are like Kahaan Hoon Main, for example. I've actually not heard in a long time. I
Okay.
sing it a lot, right? So there's a lot of the songs that people request of me. Often I don't listen to,
Yeah.
but there are a few songs that it's not like I'll add them to my playlist, but it's like sometimes I'll get reminded that, oh, this song is like a year old today, or it's been 5 years since this song.
Mm,
So when that happens, I definitely go back and I listen, and I just because I'll generally be posting about it, so naturally I'll
yeah.
remember the
Yeah.
song, and then I'll be curious sometimes, and I'll go and I'll listen to it. There's not a lot of songs like that, but there are a few songs that I would love. I do enjoy because, again, like I'm only one part of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
In these like I've sung, maybe if it's a duet, especially there's another singer, or even if it's a solo, like the lyricist, the arranger, the
Mm,
composer, of course, the recording engineer, the person who's mixed it and given me the reverb, like all these parts are like still sometimes fresh to you, even though
mm,
you've been part of that song. If
mm,
you haven't heard it in a while, it's really cool because you notice new things every time you
mhm,
listen.
mm.
And I like doing that because it's not just about my voice, right? So I'll be listening to the song for a lot of other things often. So
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask you about this song Maaloom from Lekar Hum Deewana Dil. This plays even today. It played this
really.
morning. I am not exaggerating. It played this morning, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. Have you got any memories of that?
Oh my god, yeah, of course I do. So all actually I think I have memories from every song I've sung for Survey. This song I recorded in my first trip to Chennai, the same trip that I recorded Abhija, which was like a
Yeah,
single that had for an album with Kapil Sibal, and
yeah,
it was like also Kochariya happened. I sang a
yes,
song in the
yes.
same trip. So this was one of the first record. I think it was like the first time I recorded with Sir because
Wow.
before that, I sang Kochariya, but Sir wasn't there because I was directed in that session by Srinivas
Right.
Sir, the
Yeah,
singer
yeah, yeah,
Srinivas.
yeah, yeah.
So this is the first time I kind of interacted with him behind the mic, and I remember I was saying like so basically I was recording with reverb on, which again
Yeah,
is not necessarily the way I'm used to recording.
yeah,
I'm usually recording dry, where I just hear my fold back
yeah,
like
yeah.
completely raw. This had like there's a couple of plugins working, and I felt that the song was super Western, so my natural attack was just like in a very peppy pop type way. And then he was like, no, let's make it more Indian. So then he started changing the melody while we were recording. And so now I have to learn all these like intricate like harkats he's
Wow,
composing,
wow.
freaking out because I'm like, oh my god, I better be able to do this. I better be able to do this. And then like what are the words? Kasme kya pata, reet ras mein kya pata, sache pyar ki. It was something like that first,
Correct,
but then
correct.
like make it sache pyar ki, like stuff like that. He was just on the fly, getting
Wow.
ideas and asking me to do that. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I thought it was so awesome how he's able to perceive, like, okay, this is something that maybe he thinks I can do.
Yeah.
So accordingly, he'll suggest it. And then he made a joke about turning on a Lata plugin. He's like, turn on Lata Ji plugins now, which means like, let's make it more Indian. Because
Wow.
I have that side of my voice that
Yeah.
also exists in parallel with the Western side. And that was one of the funny things I remember, yeah, from that session.
Awesome. It's such an amazing song, trust me. And then I was so hooked to it when it was released back in the days, and then it still continues to play on my playlist actually. And then yeah, it's just one of those special songs from for me though.
It was
Something.
I love that song with Hriday Gatani. I met him for the first time, Hriday Gatani, at the
Mm,
studio. Also.
mm.
I watched his session also, and it was just there's a lot of funny things. I could go on, to be honest, talking about that day. It was really funny, but or really memorable for me. But yeah, that song definitely a toe tapper. I like that song.
Yeah, Hriday was there on the podcast too. Both father and son were there. This is like a couple of weeks ago. I got him to sing that song, especially.
Maaloom,
Yeah. He
he sang
plays.
a couple of songs on the album. He had this other
He,
song.
he, he had.
Yeah.
Correct, correct, correct. And moving on. Look, I'm picking all my favorite songs, right? Anything that comes to my mind, that they are the ones that I'm picking. So if I haven't picked up a song that I should have, I apologize in advance.
No,
So,
no, that's okay. I,
so this is another mental Manadhil. You have no idea. This is like, ooh, this is just such an amazing song. I'm sure there must be a story around that too.
that was, I think, there is a story around that. I'm trying to remember what it is. I was not meant to sing that song, I think. I went to
Wow.
Chennai for something else. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. It was one of those moments where I think we were waiting for a song for lyrics, and then because I was already in Chennai at that point, they were just like, this is what I figured would happen is they're like, okay, forget that song. It's not
Mm,
ready yet. So let's work on something else since Jonita's here. So then I remember him saying like, oh, what about that mental mother? And there's like one of the engineers there. Her
mm,
name is Trinity, and who's
yeah.
now, and I met her again because she was working at Panchatan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think he asked her like, oh, what are you working on that song? She's like, that song's done. No, it's like male. You've recorded it. And he's like, yeah, let's see if we can do a female version. Like it was like I felt like it seemed like it was happening on the fly. And when I first heard it, I'm like, whoa, this song is so quirky. I thought it was like really
Yeah.
cool. And then la la, like a la la. And he was like telling me to use my vibrato, and I'm like, wow, this is really fun. And then they changed the key and made it a female version. And then again, this song has that dichotomy of like,
Correct.
you know, taka taka, like very Western, but then like there's like a verse that's like like there's like very
Beautiful.
Indian elements also, right? So it's really cool for me to in a pop setting. This is kind of like a pop
Yeah.
song to do
Yeah.
that again, experiment with sides. And I think it was my first Tamil song
Wow.
on
And
film.
and did you actually freak out because you're going to sing in Tamil?
Um, yes, but you know how there's some common chaos, how people say that. I felt like because it seemed like this whole thing was unplanned,
Yeah.
I felt a little more comfortable. Like it would be different if it was premeditated. Jonita, you are being called to sing a Tamil song. We are giving it to you to learn. Now you're come and like show us what you've done. It kind of felt like I had an excuse for being bad
All
because it
right.
was everything happening
Nice
on
one.
this moment. I think that's how I kind of calmed my nerves down a little bit about it. And I
Mm,
just kind of went for it. And then they just kept correcting me on the go as I would, screw up and then fix it and then
mm,
so on and so forth. But again, luckily, because this song was a very pop vibe and
mm,
Western vibe, it wasn't too nitpicky. Like the
mm,
vocabulary used
mm,
wasn't too intense.
mm. And of course, after that, you've obviously sung a lot of Tamil songs for, of course, others as well, the other music directors. And how has it been like now? Should I take it like you're pretty fluent in Tamil now, is it?
No, no, not at all. Do you speak Tamil? I assume you do.
I do. But the fact that you say Tamil itself it's nice. I myself being a Tamilian, I don't say that. I'm like this is something okay,
But
Chanda,
that's
say it this way.
been like whipped into shape, right? Of course. Like, of course, I also feel like I'm more susceptible to scrutiny, right, than you might be because it's your
Yeah,
language.
correct.
So naturally, I'll be a little more careful about stuff like that. And it's more like it's habituated now. I'm just
Yeah,
used to saying Tamil.
yeah,
Tamil sounds weird to me now. I feel like I don't know. As soon as someone tells you it's wrong, it kind of sticks,
yeah.
especially when it's not language. Um, so I don't speak Tamil at all. I don't understand it fully. I have a few words here and there, a few
Yeah.
phrases here and there, yes, but I'm fascinated by it. I think it's such a musical language. I love singing in Tamil. It's really
Awesome.
fun.
Great. And then of course during your trips to Chennai, you must have tried the South Indian stuff, the food and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the South Indian food is available in Mumbai also,
Mm,
but it's not
yeah, 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 yeah.
definitely.
Great. Um, one of your craziest fans here in Sydney. I live in Melbourne. So this guy called Sunil Karthik from Sydney, he sent me a big long paragraph and to ask you that question. So
Ew.
I will have to read it out because he's going to kill me if I don't ask you that question. So
Okay.
he says, "Hello, Jonathan. As you are an integral part of Rahman's concert now, how hard is it to sing songs in a concert which was initially sung by other legendary singers? Do you try to improvise the songs with your style, or do you try to stick to the original version? How much liberty does AR give a singer in such scenarios? Where does he draw a line between the original and the improvisation? This is actually a great question.
It's a great question. It is. That's it? I was
That's it.
expecting
That's
two
it.
more.
No, that's it.
No, that's not too bad. That's a very, very good question. So what's his name again? Sunil
Sunil,
Kata.
Sunil Khat.
Shout out. Thank you for asking that question. I assume Sunil must be some sort of musician also to ask a question like that.
He does do a lot of research.
Okay. So avid listener then. But yeah, it's actually it's a tricky one to answer because I think for everybody the answer is different. For
Yeah.
me personally, I always feel that because of the immense responsibility I'm given, again, like he said, there's legends who have originally sung like Minnie or Chitra ma'am in a lot of songs, like just can you imagine the amount of pressure? Like it's terrifying, but it's also, and I recognize that it's like this dichotomy again of like, okay, I want to do it justice, but I also want to make it my own because there's no way you can compare me to Chitra. Like there's no way I can ever reach, the goddess level that she is. And that's the case for a lot of the songs we sing. Like even Shreya Ghoshal, the songs that she's originally sung, like singing Pukale.
Yeah.
Like that whole section is or
Wow.
Munbe. These are like such intricate things, and it's tough. Like all I try to first and foremost is to learn the song exactly like it is.
Right.
My priority is to learn it exactly like it is. Then, if I feel comfortable, if I feel it's a song that there's certain songs that I think allow for more improvisation and certain songs that have less room for improvisation. My priority is always doing justice first and then making it my own is secondary.
Awesome.
Because I think you have the right to change anything or add anything until you've kind of learned what it was meant to be as it is.
Yeah.
But to answer this question, I do improvise here and there. I think there are places like what I'll do is pick one spot maybe or two or three spots, specific spots that I'll improvise, and then every time I sing it at his concert, maybe that same spot I'll do differently. But there are beautiful elements that I try to maintain that are there from the original always.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Such a great answer. I love it. I'm sure he's going to love it too. There's another song that I have to ask you about, Azhaghiye from Trivedi.
Yo, that's so funny. My part in that song is so short. It's like 30 seconds or less, maybe. And like, I feel
still did the magic.
That's my song. Barely have anything in it, but the song like went viral. I mean, as in it did really well, and people really loved that song. I love that song too. So it was fun to be part of that song. I think initially when I recorded na 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 na, I thought it was a placeholder. I thought like later he'll tell me, okay, now we have lyrics, so now you can re-record it, because that happens all the time. Like, okay, now we'll just sing the melody because we don't have the lyrics yet or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it stuck. It stayed that way, and then I'm singing the chorus and I'm singing these improvisations here and there, and it just became this group power force song, which is really cool. Hari Charan in the lead, and Arjun Chandy is there in the song, and I think Sid Sriram also has like a very like minimal role.
Correct.
Where he's a lot of actions and he's singing on the chorus, and it's cool, man. It's a cool song.
Yeah, I still remember when it first came out, right? I was so glued to this song. It was in an infinite loop for almost a week and a half. And I'm not kidding. This is really the truth. And I don't know. Okay, on that note, right? I mean, we're all Sir's fans, no doubt about it. When a new song of Sir's comes out of his studio, how excited are you? Like, I'll split this into two parts. If that song is sung by you, and if there's a song that's actually not sung by you, but how do you go with that?
Obviously the excitement is higher if it's a song sung by me. It's also there's often surprises also. So
Yeah,
I want to like quickly backtrack when you asked me about Kahaan Hoon Main and the story behind that. So I did tell you about
correct.
that song and about. But one thing I forgot to mention, which is relevant here, is the fact that when I recorded that hum, when the song was just a melody and I was just singing, um, that was used in a way that I had no idea. When the album was about to come out, he was being interviewed. I can't remember who interviewed him, but he mentioned that there's an Indo-Canadian singer that I'm featuring on this album, and she's actually there on 2 songs. And I'm like, I sang one song. It's called Kahaan Hoon Main. I remember recording it very well. I think he's made a mistake. I honestly thought maybe he slipped his mind and he meant to name somebody else, but he named
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
That's there on this other song called Implosive Silence.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember the first thing I did was like I sent it to like the people at Pantalan being like, what is he talking about? And then they're like, the song came out like right, I think the next day or something. And I realized there was this whole other song on the album called Implosive Silence that featured my vocals, which was the melody of Kahaan Hoon Main
Wow,
reversed.
wow.
I don't know if everybody knows this, but the track where I've just hummed, he reversed it, so the melody has become just something else. And it's so cool what he's done with that. And I just like in awe when I heard it. I'm like, wait, that's my voice, but I don't remember singing that. And then I realized that he had reversed it, and it was just like this big surprise. So
Wow.
often things like that happen. So when releases are about to happen, and if it's a song that I've sung,
Yeah.
I'm always curious to hear it because it might have changed since I've recorded it.
Mm,
That's another thing I'm very famous for is when you record the song, it is
yeah,
something, and when it releases, it is something else.
yeah,
It can change, like structuring, he can change, like everything is
yeah.
successful change. So you're always excited that when it comes out, okay, like what is the final product actually? Let's hear it. And so I'm obviously more excited when it's something I've sung. But
Of
I'm
course.
also always just an avid fan, like an avid fan. I'm
Yeah,
excited to hear his music when it comes out because
yeah,
he's such a trendsetter. He's like, a leader and a pioneer in so many ways. I mean, I don't need to tell
mm,
you this. And there's so much to learn, and it's always fascinating to see because he's somebody who I love that when he's asked in interviews,
mm.
why don't you do another album like Dil Se? Like we all love, what you've done in Roja. Why aren't you making songs like Roja? And
Yeah.
he's like, because I've done that.
Yeah,
Why not now explore something else and explore? And he's always, fascinated with new gadgets. Like he's just like, in terms of technology, is kind of always at the top of his game. And so I just think he's very innovative, and that's also what leads to us being so excited about hearing,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
what's next?
yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, since you mentioned about gadgets, right, when Sir was here on the podcast, I told him, Sir, I very well know that you're into gadgets and all sorts of new instruments and anything that comes out, you will have it. And so I asked him, what's your latest contraption? What have you got? And he said, no, man, lockdown, no shopping.
Yeah, but he's famous for like when we go on these tours and everything, we always come back like much heavier than we left. He's always got a bunch of things, yeah,
Yeah.
which is really
Um,
cool.
I have been dying to ask you this thing about Apollo Tyres Ganga song, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm sure you must have had some memories. Now, the thing is, the reason why I picked this one is because when Sir was here, I told him, Sir, I'm actually sick and tired of listening only that a minute and a half or however long that thing was, right?
No.
And is everything okay?
Yeah, my alarm. So I
Ah,
have an
yeah,
alarm.
yeah. Okay.
I turned it off. Sorry. Just really.
And then I told him, Sir, can you please release the entire track because we're all dying for it. He said, look, of course he had his own answer for that. So yeah, have you got any memories of that? What's the full song like?
No, actually, I'm pretty sure whatever we recorded is out. As
Okay.
in, what you're hearing is the full song. I'm pretty sure. There's obviously, or maybe you've heard a shorter version because they've done different edits for TV and for whatever else.
Right.
But 2 verses. So did you hear the one that has 2 verses?
I've heard only the one, which was the TV commercial one. That's all.
Right. I don't think there's more than that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, it has 2 verses. Oh, it's forgetting again. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, it has 2 verses, and It's this song that I sung in unison with Antara Nandi.
Yeah.
It's a melody that repeats twice. It's just the
Right.
lyrics are different.
Okay.
Because it was done for this. It wasn't
Right.
an song that was picked up for this. It
Okay.
was done created for Apollo Tyres
Yeah.
and yeah, but it was just such a beautiful, beautiful song. I agree with you. I wish there was a longer version.
We're almost coming towards the end of the podcast, but I've only got two more things to ask you, so I'll not keep you for long. I'm sure you had the alarms buzzing and stuff like that.
No, that's my daily thing.
Yeah. Okay. I know you've worked with number of other music directors and stuff, right? Now the thing is, this one particularly I wanted to ask you about. This guy called Amit Trivedi. The reason why I wanted to ask about him in terms of your experience working with him, because he is also an ardent fan of Sir. So what was it like working with him? And then have you got any memories that you would love to share?
Yeah, I love working with Amit Trivedi. I met him under very different circumstances. I met him a long time back. I was first introduced to him as somebody who he considered to perform live with them. I performed live with his band for a while before I ever recorded anything with him.
Yeah.
And that was the opposite, right? With Rahman Sir, I had recorded with him before I started performing live. And one thing I did notice is that Amit Trivedi is definitely a big fan of ARR Sir. And he also has that very childlike quality, I think, that Sir has, that we don't always get to see as a fan, as an audience. But when you work with these people, you really, that energy is infectious. And I think that's really cool that ties them both together. For me, at least, similarity in working with them. But yeah, working with Amit is it's always like a riot. It's so much fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's really very talented. I really like him too.
Yeah, I love his music, and he's really quirky, and I think that's really, I relate with that.
True. We've almost come to the end of the podcast. As much as I would have loved to keep you here for hours and hours and hours and just talk about your music, your journey, and Sir, but unfortunately we have to come to an end. But I do have two last things to ask you. Right.
Okay.
One is, it's up to you if you wanted to give a message to Sir, because I'm sure he will watch it. He does watch things in fast forward mode because, he's a bit impatient to watch anything, as we all know. But who knows, he might watch this. If there's a message or if there's anything that you want to dedicate to him, maybe.
It's really funny because I get really awkward when the one thing that I feel is really special is the fact that I have this immense sense of respect for him.
Okay.
But when I interact with him, I feel like sometimes I don't know if he knows how much it means to me that I'm working with him, because in the moment I have to play it cool.
Yeah.
So I would want to communicate to him is to know how much of an impact on my life he has, not just as a musician and of course somebody who we are fans of, but also as a human being.
Yeah.
His not just approval, but validation means the world to me. And the fact that I'm able to connect with him on music, but also when we're just talking about stuff or sharing a musical, a link, or talking about, a new video or someone else or something else, new instrument that's come out.
Yeah.
So those, I really cherish those kind of interactions with him, because I feel it's a window to more than what we get to see as just a fan. And he is really such a fascinating human, and he's such a funny human being. And I connect with humor the most.
Yeah.
In my life, the one thing other than music that keeps me going is laughter. And I really value being able to make people laugh and sharing laughs with people. And being able to do that with him again, aside from the whole music scenario, I really, really treasure those moments. Awesome. And again, like I said, it's just an awkward thing to always be I'm not able to showcase how I really feel, right?
Yeah.
We all are like that, I think.
Yeah.
Because I also want him to feel comfortable and to not get weirded out if I'm always just sitting in awe, because that's how I feel half the time. So I just want to sit and be how does your brain work? How are you doing this? But I can't be like that. But that's literally what I'm feeling. 80% at least of the time. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was anything. So if he watches this, he's probably just gonna laugh, which is great if that.
No, of course. I mean, even with the little bit of the interactions that I've had with him, he's really, really funny.
He's
Uh,
funny. Yeah, and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for being funny. He says really funny things, yeah, and like really, but then he's also really insightful. Like he's wow,
correct.
that's really
Very
interesting to me.
insightful, that's for sure. That's the right word. I still remember as I was setting up this room, this ARR room of mine. Once I set it up, I took pictures of this and then sent it to Sir. And then in like less than 30 seconds, I got an email back from him saying, "Okay, this is all good, but have you found a girl yet for yourself or not?"
That's really funny.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he
And
care like on a human level. Like he's not only about the work,
correct,
and
correct.
that means a lot too. It's
Yeah,
really heartwarming to see that. Yeah.
true. And I'm also into
My parents, like things like that, they really go a long way. Like, and I tell my mom and like my dad, and they'll be like, "Wow, the fact that amidst everything that's happening right now, or everything that he must be dealing with, the fact that he remembered to ask about, because he's met my parents before and stuff.
mm,
So like, how are they doing and stuff? Like that's a little thing like that goes such a
correct.
long way.
Very true. Very true. I'm into. I get into a bit of creativity on my with my food, and I once created something that actually had "I love ARR" on the food, and then I sent that picture over to him, and his response to that email was saying, "Good bridegroom material, ha ha ha."
So that's his running joke with you now,
Yeah.
clearly.
Out of the blue, I get a message from him, email from him saying, "Okay, what's up? Have you found a girl yet? When are you getting married?" He's on to me. So, oh my God. So we met in Trichy in February when I came down for the Trichy concert, and then we spent 15 minutes in the backstage just talking, and half the time he was just cracking jokes.
Yeah, I think
He's
we all
amazing.
need that lightheartedness, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Lastly, your very good friend Gulraj Singh. He sent me a message. I told him Jonita's coming, and he said, "Okay, please do ask her to perform her favorite song."
Oh God.
And he said, if she does get pissed off, then edit it out.
I'm not pissed off. I can never be pissed off at Gulu. But see, we have a running joke. I'm sure. Did you take his interview also? Is that why?
He was one of the first.
Okay. So we have a running joke of this Punjabi song that we both trip on, and it's a song by again. I don't know if you should use this because it's taking away from the very,
No, no,
like
no, that's
respectful
fine.
conversation that we're having. Because I mean, not. I mean, this is a great song. It's just like a completely different topic, But it's a song by Sunanda Sharma called "Jani Tera Na." And we were just the joke is that we were studying her voice. Like she has a very peculiar way of singing, and like literally I'm in awe of it. Like I know it always sounds like we're making fun of it, or actually I'm not making fun of it. Like I think it's a really cool thing that she does. She does it like a yodel thing. So now, but then it's become this like ongoing thing where I see
Yeah.
him and now we always sing this song together. So it's ओ मेरे मम्मी नु पसंद नहीं हो तू नी तेरा गोरा मुंह की दसा तेनू मैं तावी तेनू प्यार कर
Oh,
दी
wow.
चनवे मैं तावी तेनू प्यार कर दी चनवे whoa and this whoa Gulu tried so hard. Again, it's a running joke that I'm like, listen, like I'll teach you. Don't worry. You can be better at me in everything in music except this. I'm better than this one. I'll teach you. Koi baat nahi. Just this.
Oh my God. I'm going to cut this clip, as in, I'm going to use this in the podcast for sure, but I want to send this clip over to Gullu tomorrow.
Please do.
And I'm sure he's going to message you after that.
I miss Gulu. I haven't seen it. Like I haven't seen anyone in this
Yeah.
lockdown.
Yeah. Cool. Jonita, we have come to the end of the podcast, and it's been an absolute fun ride all the way. I would love to chat more and keep you here for long, but I can't hamper your creative space.
Yes, yes. It's more like cooking space at this point.
Before I let you go, I was wondering, Of all the songs, right, the one song that comes to my mind the moment I think about you is Chinna Chinna Asai, the Melbourne concert one. Maybe two lines of that, if that's okay.
Sure. Chinna Chinna Asai, Siragadi Kumasai, Mutta Mutta Asai, Mudindu Vaita Asai, Vennilavu Thottu, Muttamidu Asai, Ennai Indha Bhoomi, Sutri Vara Asai.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wait, I'm singing it again. If you're able to edit it, can I sing it again?
Go for it.
We'll pretend like this is the one. I'm going to sing it a little lower because I'm clearly not as warmed up.
Sure.
Chinna Chinna Asai, Tiragadi Kumasai, Muttu Muttu Asai, Mudindu Vaita Asai, Vennilavu Thottu, Muttamidu Asai, Ennai Indha Bhoomi, Sutri Vara Asai, Chinna Chinna Asai, Siragadi Kumasai, Muttu Muttu Asai, Mudindu Vaita Asai.
Beautiful. I love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Jonita. Before I let you go, do you mind if we take a quick picture?
Sure. How are you gonna do that? It's like a screenshot.
So you can stay as you are, and I'll put the chat window up on my bigger screen, and I will take a selfie from you. And cool, awesome. 1, 2, and 3. I'll take another one. Yes, that's good. Love it. That's one of the best pictures I've ever taken.